Opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Coming up on Shaw TV.
Lupus is a chronic and potentially life-threatening disease. It affects tens of thousands of Canadians. Could you be one of them? Lupus can attack any organ of the body, causing recurrent illness, chronic pain, and disability. If you have at least 3 of these symptoms, ask your doctor to test you for lupus. Lupus often goes undetected, and delays in diagnosis and treatment can lead to permanent organ damage. To learn more about lupus, visit sasklupus.com.
It was a strange night. Hard on the nerves, but it was a very good night.
And we were talking about it's a night of firsts, and yet you and I were talking earlier, and they said everybody's talking on the media about this is a great stuff with a female mayor. And it never dawned on me till last night that you would be a female mayor. I was just thinking of you as a person.
Well, it came up the very first day I announced. I was asked by one of the media outlets about the possibility of being the first female mayor in the city of Moose Jaw. We had a bit of a discussion, and I said then, this isn't why I'm running. I want to be active in the community, and I want to use the experience that I have and make Moose Jaw a better place in whatever way I can. And if the people of Moose Jaw decide that the best person for the job happens to be a woman, well, so be it. That's a good step forward also. But when last night we were looking at the numbers, we have gender parity on council with 3 men, 3 women, and then we have a female mayor. And I think it really speaks to how progressive Moose Jaw is, and that we are a much more progressive and modern city than I think we sometimes give ourselves credit for.
Which is a nice thing to be going into with.
It is.
With that kind of situation to look at and to say, now, last night, I said, my God, the woman was there till 10 o'clock or after 10. Yeah. Probably didn't get home till 10:30 or 11. I don't know if she socialized or anything like that.
We went down to one of the local coffee shops and we just kind of sat back and relaxed and had a coffee and discussed the lay of the land and relaxed a little bit. Yeah, I got home about 11:30, I think, 12.
And then you had to be in Regina on television at...
Well, I left home at 5:30 this morning, so that's all right. Yeah. It's all part of it.
It's part of being the mayor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, what did you had this excitement, you had this experience. That what's next for you now? What you're going to talk to Mayor Hagel and sit down with him. What things are you going to try and look at for establishing yourself in the role?
Well, I think there's a number of things that have to happen. First off, get some briefings or some more in-depth discussion with city administration plus the current mayor. But also I need to touch base with the councillors, the newly elected councillors, to see what their priorities are and where they see the city moving forward. Because I think one of the things that's very important is that we work as a team, not stifle debate. You're never going to stifle debate, and that's a big part of our democratic process. People need to bring their views forward, and we need to have a full, thorough discussion on a majority of issues, if not all issues, really. But it would be nice to have some common goals and visions that we are working on for the city of Moose Jaw.
Now, I know you spent a little bit of time talking about housing.
Yes. Housing's absolutely key to so many things in the city. We need to have good accommodation for the people that currently live here. If employers are looking to recruit new employees, we need housing for 15 Wing. We need housing that's available and accessible for families that are coming to 15 Wing for training or for a longer term posting. SIA students, I'm told right now that they are staying in hotels. because they can't find accommodation. And I wouldn't think that hotels were the most conducive to studying and good results at school. But, you know, it just shows the crunch we're in. And everything hinges off housing. You have to have it. So it's got to be a focus.
It's kind of like someone asked one of the young council candidates, he said, what are your priorities? He said, well, he said, for me, it's water, because that's one of the bases you have to have. He says, if the roads are bumpy, you can still drive slow. But water, so you're talking like food and shelter, the basics of what a human being needs to survive.
Needs to survive. Yeah. No, it's true. And we all know if you have those good basics in your life, your outcomes are better right from early years to later.
So we're talking about being an educator and how sometimes it wasn't as easy to teach some people as others.
That's right.
Not mentioning any names.
No. We won't get into that stuff.
Yeah. But you are South Hill born and raised, and still reside there. And so the ward system was defeated. And how did you feel about that?
Well, a little bit disappointed. I thought it would improve representation and accountability back to elected officials. But the people decided that it wasn't for them at this time. So that issue will get set aside and we'll move on. There's no shortage of things to work on.
That's right.
So we can set that aside.
And one of the things I did notice is that, I don't know if you're aware of it, but there were over 10,000 people voted for mayor, but only 8,000 voted for the ward. There was 2,000 people who voted for mayor didn't vote for the ward system, and I'm not sure if it was like the way that the ballot was set up, perhaps, or if people didn't bother to think about it.
Well, I don't know, because I know I was putting my ballot after I'd voted. I tucked it back in to make sure the initials were showing in the appropriate spot so it could be fed into the machine. And then it dawned on me that I hadn't voted on the ward system. So pulled it back out again and then looked again. So was there more people that did that? I don't know. Or maybe people just didn't feel they had enough information, or maybe just weren't interested in casting their ballot. But it's too bad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, but
you don't want it up in the air.
If we keep growing as we do, it'll be forced upon us. But oftentimes it's better to make the jump yourself than have somebody push you. I think.
Well, you sounds like you know what you're talking about. No, I think you're right. It is. And maybe it's a process of a little more discussion on the whole issue. And I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and so we talked about the fact that the services for our community, like water and the roads and that kind of thing, are obvious. They're the ones that are in your face because you see them. And of course, the water is a thing of our forefathers, that they built a system to last 100 years, and it's 100 years.
It's over 100 years, I'm afraid. Yeah, and that's, I mean, you listen to the history of Moose Jaw, and that's what brought many people to this area. It's what brought the CPR here, was access to water. And the city has grown up around it. So it's an issue, especially living on the prairies as we do. And there is a need for twinning the main pipe that we use from the filtration plant. And then there's the need of replacing an aging infrastructure that is under the ground here in the city of Moose Jaw. And it has to be something that we have to mark as a priority, because it's out of sight, it may be out of mind. But yet when we see streets dug up, when we see the inconvenience and the cost for the city, for residents, and it can be pretty costly for residents also, we need to put in place, I think, a schedule and a timeline to begin not replacing a lot of the infrastructure that needs to be done.
I was saying just the other day, I was heading down to the TV station, and I came from this on the west side of Main Street to the east side of Main Street. I said, I think like I'm in Regina, because all the streets were blocked off and all the detours were going on. I said, this is just like Regina. But,
yeah, I was over on the east side the other day door knocking towards the end of the election, and there was 3 or 4 streets that were blocked off. Now, mind you, a couple, or one for sure, was for infill housing. Someone was building a new house in there, which is wonderful. Helps revive the neighborhood, but a number of them look like just replacements for sewer or water. So, you have to deal with the emergencies, and you have to deal with them in a timely fashion, but we need to be a little more proactive, I think, on the replacement work that we're doing.
Yeah. And a lot of the new housing on South Hill is coming online. The Grant Hall is going to be with special needs available for people, and of course Fairford Place and Fairford something.
Yeah.
One is going to be open in the next couple of months, and then they start in the second tower.
Yeah, which is good. It all comes in at I think, an appropriate time for Moose Jaw. You know, the exciting part about the election and being involved in the community, this is a time for Moose Jaw when there is just so many opportunities. There are so many things happening around us that Moose Jaw needs to be prepared for, to be part of and contribute to. There's some pretty big projects happening in our vicinity. You know, announcement at Mosaic that they're expanding. Yara is expanding, the possibility of the K+S potash mine, which is right on our doorstep. And then the hospital being built here in Moose Jaw. There's going to be lots of activity and lots of opportunity for new residents, new businesses that may be spin-off from some of these bigger projects to build their home right here in Moose Jaw, and that's what we want to see.
Well, I couldn't have done a better job of summing up this session, which is what we're doing right now. So thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know that people will be watching you and cheering for you in the next 4 years.
Thank you very much. It's going to be good.
Coming up next, we're going to have a visit to talk about Remembrance Day with Pat Elder.